Great Olympic moments remembered on BBC2 now in a celebration marking tomorrow's centenary of the modern Summer Games.
Saturday night on BBC1 kicks off with Big Break at 5:55. While Could This Be the Son of Superman? At 7:10, Simon Mayer hosts a new series of confessions.
My confession is that I became a wee girl called Sarah for 2 months and nobody in my family knows.
It's a rollover week in the National Lottery. Then at 8:05, sabotage in space for the Bugs team.
Without the cooling system, that fuel cell is very unstable.
After the news, Detective Sergeant Charlie Nolan is undercover.
How do you know Marty?
I came here looking for him.
Amanda Donohoe and Colin Salmon star in the psychological thriller Deep Secrets. With football action in Match of the Day and They Think It's All Over at 11:45, that's Saturday night on BBC1.
The hallowed halls of Cambridge beckon.
It's not the most important thing in life, Mother. Yes, it is.
Interview day for fretful offspring and fraught parents.
I've just seen a magpie. That's bad luck, that is. Hello, Mr. Magpie. Hello, Mr. Magpie.
Does that make it all right now? Or does he have to say hello back?
And a time for adult education.
Ask me why children turn their parents into children.
Maureen Lipman and Sir Alec Guinness in Jack Rosenthal's Eskimo Day. Screen 1 in 20 minutes.
The main evening news first on BBC1 with Peter Sissons.
Up to 40,000 HIV tests have been found to be unreliable. The government says the risk of a wrong diagnosis is tiny, but AIDS helplines have been swamped with calls. Cunard's run of trouble continues as its newest cruise liner hits a coral reef in the Red Sea. And Prince Edward breaks a 60-year royal silence on the treatment of the Duchess of Windsor. Good evening. The government today admitted that up to 40,000 people who've taken an HIV test in the last 6 months and been told it was negative may have been given a test that is unreliable. All the tests will have to be reanalyzed. Despite a rush of worried inquiries to AIDS helplines, a government medical officer said the chances of there having been a wrong diagnosis were very, very tiny.
This test has been used in Britain since last September. St Thomas's Hospital in London is one of the units that has now withdrawn it. The mistakes came to light when a false negative result came up against a patient known to have AIDS. Up to 40,000 people will now need to be retested. But doctors say the chances of a test result being reversed are remote.
A very small proportion of people who are HIV positive may be found to give a result which is negative. I should stress this is rare. In the UK, somewhere of the order of 4 cases, that's all, have been found.
The testing device comes from this company in Chicago. Abbott Laboratories is a highly respected firm. Its spokesman said tonight they were withdrawn as soon as possible.
Abbott took the action following a very small number of reports of inaccurate results provided by the test, and we have voluntarily informed all customers and relevant health authorities throughout Europe about the matter, and we are currently cooperating with them.
Labour and some AIDS charities think the public should have been alerted as soon as the government was told at the end of March. Its health advisors accept the timing has been unfortunate.
We wanted to try to make sure that all detailed arrangements were in place for, as I say, the retesting of the samples before going public, because now it has become public. A lot of people who don't need to be worried are worried.
Hundreds of people have today called AIDS helplines. One problem is that some people gave false names when first tested and might now be hard to trace.
Safer sex becomes important to them yet again, and until they can be reassured that their negative result is real, then we should go back to using condoms.
Tonight, Germany, Denmark and Sweden have also issued warnings saying retesting would have to be done there as well. The Department of Health here says the blood transfusion service won't be affected as it uses different equipment. It says anyone worried about the tests should contact the National AIDS Helpline. Duncan Kennedy, BBC News at the Department of Health.
Cunard may face a compensation bill of hundreds of thousands of pounds after its newest cruise liner, the Royal Viking Sun, struck a coral reef in the Red Sea. The company says it will reimburse all 550 passengers because the collision has ended their cruise prematurely. Cunard may also be fined for damaging the reef. The liner has now been towed to the Egyptian port of Sharm el-Sheikh. An accident investigation is underway.
The Royal Viking Sun, seen here in a recent edition of the BBC's holiday programme, is one of Cunard's top liners, considered second only to the QE2. But that luxury image was tarnished last night when the liner struck a reef as she approached the Jordanian port of Aqaba and began taking on water. While Cunard insists the passengers were not at risk, they were mustered at lifeboat stations for about an hour before being allowed back to their cabins.
The captain had full control of the situation all the time, and after a while he started the pumps, and he got rid of some of the water that had come into the ship.
Around 80 of the passengers had already endured an earlier trauma on board Cunard's MV Saga Fjord when it became stranded last month in the South China Sea following a fire. And it's another public relations embarrassment for the company to compare with the QE2's Christmas cruise in 1994, which was marred by disastrous plumbing problems, the result of a multi-million-pound refit that wasn't finished in time. Faced with yet more unhappy passengers, Cunard is once again to mount a damage limitation exercise.
Obviously, Cunard will be looking to make sure that people are compensated because they've had their holiday disrupted, and that is the most, that's the saddest thing about this. No one likes to have their holiday plans disrupted, least of all the people who are providing the arrangements.
Cunard's problems may not be over. An investigation is now underway into the damage caused to the reef, and in other cases fines of over $1 million have been known. This may not in the end have been a life-threatening incident, but it is hugely embarrassing for Cunard, coming at a time when its parent company, Trafalgar House, is the subject of a multi-million-pound takeover bid. Cunard's name and reputation remain a precious asset, but this latest accident is something it could well have done without. Gary Duffy, BBC News, Central London.
More than 30 Russian soldiers are reported to have been killed and nearly 70 injured in overnight battles with separatist rebels in Chechnya. The fighting took place in the village of Goyskoye, south of the capital Grozny. Separatists there and in other villages are continuing to resist assaults by Russian forces in their bid for independence. Prince Edward has broken a 60-year silence by the royal family over the treatment of Wallis Simpson, the divorcee for whom Edward VIII abdicated in 1936. The prince has just made a television documentary about his great-uncle, and in a Daily Mail interview to publicise the film, he says the decision to deny Mrs. Simpson the title Her Royal Highness was extremely hard line.
For 60 years, the royal family have kept their feelings about the love affair between Edward VIII and Wallis Simpson strictly to themselves. The abdication shook the monarchy to its foundations and handed the throne to his unprepared younger brother, George VI, and Queen Elizabeth, now the Queen Mother. But Prince Edward has made a personal study of his great-uncle, who, as Duke of Windsor, spent the rest of his life in exile. And he's concluded that the bitterness that marked those years could have been avoided if the Duke had been given a role. In an interview with the writer Hugo Vickers, the Prince also says the decision to refuse the Duchess the title Her Royal Highness was extremely hard line.
But I think from his perspective in the 1990s, I think he does think that that was a rather harsh decision. The Duke very much wanted her to be a Royal Highness because he wanted her to be his equal. And he always felt that he'd failed her because he was unable to get her that privilege.
Moreover, it was to be 30 years before the Duchess was received briefly by her husband's family, and Prince Edward's comments could be seen as criticism not only of royal advisers, but of his own grandparents. He's also revived the debate about the use of the HRH title at a particularly sensitive time, when there have been calls for the Duchess of York to be stripped of her title, and the Princess of Wales has revealed that she's prepared to surrender hers as a concession to Prince Charles. But some experts believe he's raised legitimate questions.
We've all got to ask, what is our monarchy for? And part of the answer to that lies in, well, what has it been? And were the right decisions taken? History can actually help you in the present and for the future. And in that sense, I think what Edward is doing is probably rather valuable.
Buckingham Palace officials say the Prince's comments are a matter for him and his film company, but the reopening of old family wounds can't be welcome, especially at such a delicate stage in the divorce negotiations between the Prince and Princess of Wales. Jenny Bond, BBC News, Buckingham Palace.
The French government has said a man has died from the new strain of CJD, similar to a number of cases in Britain. But it doesn't know if the case is linked to BSE in cattle. Earlier today, scientists who discovered the possible link between BSE and CJD in Britain published their report. They said that while it had not been proved conclusively, eating BSE-infected beef is the most plausible explanation for a new strain of CJD in humans. The NUT, Britain's biggest teaching union, has opened its annual conference in Cardiff. The union's leadership called on delegates to give the Education Secretary Gillian Shepherd a fair hearing when she addresses them tomorrow. She'll be the first Education Secretary in 16 years to speak at the conference. President Clinton has returned to Oklahoma City to commemorate the bomb attack nearly a year ago, in which 169 people died. Mr. Clinton laid a wreath and praised the spirit of healing, which he said was helping to renew the city.
It has been a somber day, with the President and Mrs. Clinton going to the spot on the White House lawn where last year they planted a tree in memory of the Oklahoma bombing victims, to plant another tree in memory of Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and others who died in the Dubrovnik air crash.
We hope the prayers of the American people will be with them and their families at this difficult time, and we hope everyone will honor the contributions they made to the United States and the welfare of our people.
In Oklahoma City, at the site of the bombing, which killed 19 children and about 150 others, President Clinton laid a wreath to commemorate the worst ever act of terrorism on American soil. Many Oklahomans have been dreading this anniversary as a reopening of the heartbreak, though others hoped it would close the worst year in the state's history.
This is, after all, Good Friday. It is a day for those of us who are Christians that marks the passage from loss and despair to hope and redemption.
The trial of those accused of the bombing is expected to begin this autumn, prolonging, many Oklahomans feel, the anguish. Gavin Esler, BBC News, Washington.
Income tax cuts announced in last November's budget come into effect from tomorrow. Among them a reduction in the basic rate from 25 to 24 pence in the pound. Nearly everyone will be better off, but by widely differing amounts.
Moneymore in Northern Ireland. The name of the town speaks for the whole country. People here always welcome a little extra cash. So, with the new tax year starting, is the UK happy with the first income tax cuts for 4 years?
Well, I don't think it'll make that much difference, really. I mean, it's, well, 1p in the pound. You've got to earn an awful lot of pounds before it starts making any big difference to you.
All the wages that people make nowadays and the scarcity of jobs, I think that the income tax should be lowered.
Every family is affected in a different way by the tax cuts, but in general the rich will benefit most. Someone who earns £30,000 a year will have about an extra £6 a week to spend if they get the normal personal allowance. Someone on close to average earnings at £20,000 will have an extra £3.50 a week. And someone at the lower end of the income scale on £10,000 a year will be just £1.50 a week richer. But that's just the income tax cuts. Council taxes are going up. Indirect taxes have risen, and they won't pay back tax rises in previous years.
In terms of comparison with the tax increases that have come in over the last 3 years, they're really pretty small beer. They amount to an annual level of about £3.5 billion compared to 17 or 18 billion pounds of tax increases in the previous 3 years.
For Moneymore and the UK economy, it's the psychological effect of these cuts that'll matter. Will people feel as though they have more money and draw the curtain on the last few years of abstinence? Evan Davis, BBC News.
Police are investigating reports that members of the pop band Oasis led lives of crime in Manchester before they became well known. In an interview for a music newspaper, the songwriter Noel Gallagher claimed that he and his brother Liam, also a member of the group, burgled homes and stole car radios. As Good Friday was marked by Christians around the country, the Bishop of Coventry criticised the city's council for turning it into a normal working day. The Right Reverend Simon Barrington Ward says the council is failing to respect the city's strong Christian tradition. But the council says it's brought in new working practices to save money.
Coventry's Good Friday, with thousands of city council staff having to work this year under new contracts. This is diluting one of the most important days in the Christian calendar, according to the Bishop of Coventry.
Every step like this that anyone takes helps to undermine the whole Christian framework and tradition. And you know, our other faith friends, we have very lively other faith communities in this city, don't want that. They want us to be Christian.
But the council says it had no choice over Good Friday working. It was faced with massive underfunding from central government.
£23 million is an awful lot of money to find and continue to provide the services that the city needs. We developed a strategy with our trade unions that ensured that both services and, as a consequence, 1,000 jobs were saved for the city of Coventry.
In central London, a theatre company brought the Easter story to the streets of Westminster, leading a silent interdenominational procession. Inside Westminster Cathedral, Cardinal Basil Hume spoke of the massacre of schoolchildren in Dunblane and of evil.
We are left with the question, why? Then, in the darkness, a light begins to shine. I look at the figure of Christ dying on the cross.
They remembered the darkness of the Dunblane tragedy in Westminster Abbey too, during a retelling of the Passion story that came in rather more dramatic form. Mike Wooldridge, BBC News.
And that's all from the newsroom tonight. Good night.
Good evening. The Staffordshire car company Reliant has new owners and a more certain future. A British-based consortium has paid more than £300,000 to carry on making the famous three-wheeled Robin and other vehicles at the Two Gates factory.
The head of the British consortium that's taking over the Tamworth factory brought the good news that motor manufacture will continue here. Jonathan Haynes had his family with him, but then his is a motor manufacturing family. He worked 25 years at Jaguar. His father, Bill, designed the E-Type. His wife's been involved in the consortium's bid, and his son, William, took a liking to the cars.
The financial commitment means that it's long-term. The administrators haven't given the company away. We've paid a fair price for the company, and I must congratulate the administrators on actually getting good money for the creditors.
Those creditors, particularly component suppliers, have been wary of losing even more money. Mr. Haynes plans a phased return to full production at a factory that's been reduced to a skeleton staff. Apart from 44,000 loyal Robin owners, Mr. Haynes hopes to find new customers with an increased product range. The three-wheel pickup will be the basis of that. 600 to 700 cars in the first year is the production target.
A man's body has been found in a canal in the Black Country. West Midlands police say they were alerted this afternoon after passers-by saw the body in the canal opposite the Woodman pub on Leys Road in Brierley Hill. The death is being treated as suspicious. Two bishops in the Midlands have criticised what they see as a lack of respect for Good Friday. The Bishop of Coventry has condemned the City Council for making its staff work today. And the Bishop of Birmingham said today that the message of Easter has been forgotten.
10,000 council employees in Coventry worked on Good Friday for the first time today. The decision upset the city's bishop, who says he'll be raising the matter with council leaders.
I think that it's too easy to cut out a Christian festival, which doesn't seem to matter so much, when it's really an undermining of our life, I think, and an undermining of the Christian tradition of the city.
Shops were open across the region today, and Birmingham's bishop targeted retailers for ignoring the symbolism of Good Friday by opening for business.
If every day of the year is exactly the same, life gets very boring indeed. You need to mark these days in order to remember what they're about.
But his view isn't shared by shoppers. They want to spend money.
Being open today doesn't bother me. Maybe it's because I'm not that religious.
Life's got to go on, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Sundays and Good Fridays is probably some of the days that people have got a chance to shop.
With Sunday shopping now established, it looks as if the fight to keep Good Friday special is already lost.
A historic Midlands ferry service took to the water for the first time in 33 years today. The Twinning ferry, which operated under Royal Charter for 600 years, carrying passengers between Tewkesbury and Bredon, was relaunched at a ceremony this afternoon. Well, that's it from the Midlands newsroom. We'll have more Midlands news at 5:25 tomorrow afternoon. Have a good night. Here's the weather.
A very good evening to you. It's been an absolutely glorious day today, almost unbroken sunshine across the country, some places up to 12 hours, but there'll be a widespread frost tonight, really from East Anglia, the Midlands, Wales, northwards. The lowest temperatures up in central parts of Scotland, down to -4 Celsius, that's 25 degrees Fahrenheit, but no frost down in the south. We're going to start to see the cloud pushing in and thickening up just a shade. Still a lot of sunshine around tomorrow. The best of the sunshine in the morning over Northern Ireland, southern and central parts of Scotland. But we're going to find the cloud thickening up again down in southern areas. And that's going to push its way northwards across many parts of England and Wales. So quite a different day there, I think, tomorrow. And as it pushes its way north, there might be one or two damp patches, might be a little bit of drizzly stuff about. But I think most places staying dry. Top temperature tomorrow, once again in the Moray Firth, up as high as 15 degrees Celsius. That's nearly 60 degrees Fahrenheit. And then on Easter Day, well, most of England and Wales, up into central southern Scotland, a lot of cloud, one or two little bits of rain about, but really not amounting to very much. The best of the sunshine, northwest Scotland and into western parts of Northern Ireland, but brightening up, I think, over southern and eastern parts of the country on Easter Monday, but then more rain pushing into the west. Well, that's the forecast. Bye-bye for now.
Whet your appetite for Easter Day on BBC1. Deliberate.
Oh.
Cogitate.
Absolutely knockout.
And digest. That's superb. With a new series of MasterChef at 5:15. Seasonal celebrations from York Minster. Songs of Praise at 6:10. Fountains Abbey in North Yorkshire is the setting for Antiques Roadshow at 6:45. In Hamish Macbeth at 7:30 there's a new look and a new admirer for Isabel.
He treats me with respect. Takes me seriously.
At 8:20...
There is a war on Bunting.
Oh, is that what it is? It's 1941 and the Yanks are over here. A storm in a B cup at 10:05. Do you think it's my size? Ruby Wax meets Heidi Fleiss. That's Easter Day on BBC1.
Charlie, I need your help.
It's his toughest assignment.
I don't want undercover work. She's the only one who can put Kane away.
In a deadly underworld.
Fear. The ugliest secret in the world. Just let him go.
Where there's a game to play.
You're really good at being nobody. When you lie, your eyelids flutter like a little girl.
To get to the truth.
A woman's never trusted anyone in her life.
You want to know who I am? Ask me!
Amanda Donohoe and Colin Salmon reveal deep secrets. Screen 1, tomorrow, 9:15 on BBC1.
Maureen Lipman and Sir Alec Guinness head a strong cast now on BBC1 in a poignant new drama from Jack Rosenthal. It's the moment every parent dreads. It's Eskimo Day.